Morning. Hope you're all well. You're all safe. Been chatting to a few of over the phone the last few days, which has been lovely. Most of you are working really hard at home. I know it's tough. I know it's weird. We're not quite sure when we're going back, but keep it up. You're working really hard. I know your parents are really proud of you, and I'm proud of you too for how well you're doing. Well done, guys. Keep it up. Right, we're going to keep on with Kensuke's Kingdom, and we're on to chapter 5. Kensuke. Now, he's just met this person on the island. Don't know anything else yet. He was diminutive, no taller than me, and as old as a man I had ever seen. He wore nothing but a pair of tattered breeches bunched at the waist, and there was a large knife in his belt. He was thin, too. In places, under his arm, round his neck, and his midriff, his copper-brown skin lay in folds about him, almost as if he'd shrunk inside it. What little hair he had on his head and chin was long and wispy and white. I could see at once that he was very agitated, his chin trembling, his heavily hooded eyes accusing and angry. "Damn it up! Damn it up!" he screeched at me. This whole body was shaking with fury. I backed away as he scuttled up the beach towards me, gesticulating wildly with his stick and haranguing me as he came. Ancient and skeletal as he may have been, he was moving fast, running almost. "Damn it up! Damn it up!" I had no idea what he was saying. It sounded Chinese or Japanese, perhaps. I was about to turn and run when Stella, who strangely had not barked at him at all, suddenly left my side and went bounding off towards him. Her hackles were not up. She was not growling. To my astonishment, she greeted him like a long-lost friend. He was no more than a few feet away from me when he stopped. We both stood looking at each other in silence for a few minutes. He was leaning on his stick, trying to catch his breath. American? Egokujin? British? Yes, I said, relieved to have understood something at last. English. I'm English. It seemed a struggle for him to try and get the words out. "No good. Fire. No good. You understand? No fire." He seemed less angry now. "But my mother and my father, they might see the smoke." It was plain he didn't understand me, so I pointed out to sea by way of explanation. "Out there. They're out there. They'll see the fire. They'll come and fetch me." Instantly, he became aggressive again. "Damn it!" he shrieked, waving his stick at me. "No fire!" I thought for a moment he was going to attack me, but he did not. Instead, he began to rake through the sand at my feet with his stick. He was drawing the outline of something, jabbering incomprehensibly all the time. It looked like some kind of fruit at first. A nut, perhaps? A peanut. Now I understood. It was a map of the island. When it was done, he fell to his knees beside it and piled up 2 mounds of sand, one at each end, the 2 hills. Then, very deliberately, he etched out a straight line top to bottom, cutting the smaller end of the island off from the larger one. "You, boy, you here," he said, pointing back towards my cave at the end of the beach. "You!" And he stabbed his finger into the mound of sand that was my hill. Then, across the whole of the sand map, he began to write something. The lettering was not letters at all, but symbols, all kinds of ticks and pyramids and crosses and horizontal lines and slashes and squiggles, and he wrote it all backwards in columns from right to left. He sat back on his haunches and tapped his chest. "Kensuke, Kensuke, my island." And he brought his hand down like a chopper separating the island in two. "Kensuke, here. You, boy, here." I was already in no doubt what he meant. Suddenly, he was on his feet again, waving at me with his stick. "Go, boy, no fire, damn it up, no fire, you understand?" I did not argue, but walked away at once. When, after a while, I dared to look back, he was kneeling down beside what was left of my fire, and scooping still more sand onto it. Stella had stayed with him. I whistled for her. She came, but not at once. I could see she was very reluctant to leave him. She was behaving very oddly. Stella Artois had never taken kindly to strangers. Never. I felt disappointed in her, a bit betrayed even. When I next looked back, the fire was not smoking at all. It had been completely smothered, and the old man was nowhere to be seen. For the rest of the day, I stayed in my cave. For some reason, I felt safe there. I suppose I had already begun to think of it as home. I had no other. I felt as an orphan must feel, abandoned and alone in the world. I was frightened. I was angry. I was completely bewildered. I sat there, trying to gather my thoughts. So as far as I could tell, though I couldn't be sure of it, there were only 2 of us in this island, the old man and me. In which case, it stood to reason that he could have left me the fish and the bananas and the water. Surely that had been an act of kindness, a sign of friendship or welcome. And yet, now, this same man had banished me to one end of the island, as if I was a leper, and made it quite clear that he never wanted us to meet again. And all because I had lit a fire? None of it made any sense at all, unless he was out of his mind and completely mad. I took a long, hard look at my situation. I was marooned on an island in the middle of nowhere, very probably with a madman for company, and a bunch of howling monkeys, at least one orangutan amongst them, and God knows what else might be hidden on this island, and millions of mosquitoes that would eat me alive every night. I knew only one thing. I had to get away. But how? How was I ever going to get off the island unless I could attract the attention of some passing ship? I could be here for the rest of my life. The thought didn't start again. The thought didn't bear dwelling on. There we go. I wondered how long the old man had been on the island, and what might have led him here in the first place. Who was he, and who was he anyway to tell me what I could and could not do? And why had he put out my fire? I curled up in my cave, closed my eyes, and just wished myself back home, or back on the Peggy Sue with my mother and father. Such wonderful dreaming almost lulled me to sleep, but the mosquitoes and the howling from the forest soon dragged me back to consciousness, to face once again all the appalling implications of my wretched predicament. I'm going to stop it there because it's quite a long chapter, so I'm going to split it in half or so, and we're going to continue it tomorrow. In the meantime, look after yourselves, and I'll be talking to you in the meantime. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.